before that, I had gone to Geneva with Sonia Johnson and a group of her friends. And Sonia wanted to make a peace treaty with the Russian women, or the Soviet women, directly from American women. And we went to a WILF meeting where Sonia was hoping to meet these Soviet women. That didn't really happen. But at this meeting, she decided she wanted to do an alternative that was more radical than WILF, and invited a bunch of the women from the WILF meeting, as well as some others, and some of us who were in our, who had come with her. And we had like a 2 or 3 day discussion to make up a document. And we didn't finish. So in the end, I was wondering, what should I do? What should I do? You know, and I decided that I would invite them to Texas. So I've invited this whole group of women to Texas, to this ranch, Stonehaven Ranch, south of Austin, which I rented for the purpose. And then after that, I kept on renting it until I finally bought it. But at that period of time, I had just started to rent it. And so I invited these women to come, and they did come in about, it was the summer, I guess, of 84.
84.
And Sissy, of course, was there, and a lot of other women that had not been with Sonia were there too. But we finally started this group of the Feminist International for Peace and Food. We called it. We had to name it something, so we called it that. And either before or after that, we had the Wise Women's Council in Houston.
Oh, out at that camp, yeah.
And then Bella came to that, and a lot of
and the woman from New Zealand that had
Marilyn Waring
that had voted against.
And Robin Morgan.
Yeah.
Well, Marilyn Waring, who then wrote that book, If Women Counted, which has become really a basic book for feminism after that, about women's work not being counted.
And the gross national product, yeah.
So, and let's see, and well, we could maybe find the list of names somewhere.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people there, do you remember?
There were.
And it's interesting because sometimes I'll read now about someone and I think, oh, she was there.
Right.
You know, that Native American whose name I can't remember.
Yes. Dunbar Ortiz was there,
yeah.
So I could probably find the list somewhere. So we had that nice meeting. And we drew up a document from that, which Robin Morgan and I wrote, called Let Women Lead. And we used that in the peace tent later. And some of those women came to the Nairobi conference, but a lot of them also didn't, for whatever reason, I'm sorry to say. And even some of the Feminists for Peace and Food didn't come to the Nairobi conference. But anyway, we had several meetings, one in my house in Italy and one in Maryland.
In March, yeah, it was, I remember that.
In Maryland, at a retreat center in Maryland. And in that time we were deciding what we were going to do as a group, because we had not really formed as a group on purpose to go to Nairobi. And then when we were in Rome, people were all coming up with different ideas of what we could do as a group or separately. And the idea of the Nairobi conference started to go around. And then one of the women, or two of the women, had done a women's tent at a meeting in...
And it was on the other side of the Iron Curtain, wasn't it?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It was, but it was a meeting in like Czechoslovakia or somewhere.
Yeah.
And so they had done this women's tent or women's center in this conference. And they, Ellen Dietrich and Fazia Jansen, suggested then that we do a peace tent at the women's conference. And so I went with Ellen and Fazia too, I think, to Geneva and talked with Edith Ballantyne about that. And there was another woman, Inge Langen, who had been in Kenya before.
Oh, yeah.
And she knew some of the women of the local women there. And they ended up being the ones that were doing the singing.
Wasn't she the photographer, the
she
filmmaker?
Was the filmmaker, yeah.
Yeah.
And so she and Edith and Ellen and I and some others decided to do this peace tent and brought the idea back to the group. And so the group was ready to do that. And so then we started doing the logistics and all of that. Some of the women that had been working at Stonehaven went to help set up the house where we stayed. We rented a house for these 30 people who were there that went.
May I inject this?
Yes, yes.
Genevieve Vaughan sent more women to Nairobi than the U.S. government did.
Yeah.